What's up, everybody? I'm Eric.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt, and together we are.
Kollective Vision.
So we wanted to do a little video, and we thought this would be the best way to do it since we live at least like 25 miles apart. Isn't that how far it is? Something like that?
It's probably something like that.
Probably closer to like 800 or so.
Let's see. Let's look up. We are recording this video because we are 741 miles apart. That is a little over 25 miles.
741. So this is how we get together and produce a lot. And we wanted to answer some questions for our fans and people that are curious about Kollective Vision. And so we just are going to run down a few questions here real quick and maybe let you get to know us a little better. So Eric, I'm going to ask you the question. How about this? Question number one. How did you come up with the name for your group? So our production duo is named Kollective Vision, obviously.
Kollective Vision came to be because some years ago Matt looked at me and said, "Hey, we should throw a party in the forest." To which I replied, "Yeah, we should." So we did. And we'll get into details of that probably some other time, but we became the Night Spin Collective. And we did shows for a while through a few parties. But as we started to get in the music production and DJ side of things, we obviously needed a name. And what better way to tell the story of what me and Matt come up with together than to have it titled The Vision of What Becomes When Me and Matt Get Together. And that is how we came up with Kollective Vision.
That's it. It's a bit of a nod to the Night Spin Collective, which is still very active. But Eric and I started that together, and now we're doing this together. So that's the name. Question number two: who is your inspiration?
Well, my inspiration way early on, I would have to say, would be Deadmau5. He definitely inspired me as far as just a musical mind. But I would say what pushed me to be a music producer more than any other group out there, it would have to be Infected Mushroom. Hearing people come up with something so different and so creative and so weird and still be able to call it music, that is exactly what I look for in myself every day.
We should probably explain why you look the way you do on this video.
Oh, I don't know.
It just struck me as you were talking right then. So either we're going to some lengths to protect Eric's visage to keep him a little bit more anonymous, or there's something weird with Eric's computer. you
That's
decide.
part of the mystery, isn't it? I guess we'll just all
yes, absolutely.
It's all part of the adventure to figure out what's really happening here.
Yeah. So for me, on the inspiration question, back to that, early inspirations in the electronic music would probably be Adam Freeland, some Benny Benassi, of course Deadmau5 and Cascade. And then when you get to the earlier breakbeats, I think like Aggressiveness and of course Stanton Warriors. Those were some of my early influences, I think. On to the next question. How did you get started and when did you start working together? Well, we kind of already touched on that. I'd say it was about 2008 when we started going to different electronic music shows and were introduced to each other. And then by 2011, we had formed the Night Spin Collective in its early form, and we're were throwing shows, and DJing, of course.
Yeah, I started going to shows right near the end of 2006 or 2005, but I didn't meet Matt until 2009 at the Tiesto Kaleidoscope tour. That's
Oh,
the first
it
time.
was actually 2008, the Benny Benassi show.
Maybe no, no way, no way.
2008 Benny Benassi show, and Justin introduced you to me back by the fence.
You had a leather jacket on, and you
Oh, what?
Solitaire,
Oh,
and we met at Kaleidoscope. Maybe I'm
Lord,
incorrect. I could be completely wrong on this, but that's what I remember.
you're so out of space. Crazy. We were hanging out quite a bit by the time Kaleidoscope tour came around. So anyway, with our obviously very consistent stories here, let's go to the next one. What was the first concert you ever went to? That's not going to be on the electrical. It's not going to be on the electronic side of things.
Electrical.
Yeah, the electricals weren't happening so much. Okay, shoot. The first concert I ever went to, I don't know.
Mine
It
was Tim
a country
McGraw,
concert.
of all people.
Yeah, I think it was probably Restless Heart. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I was a DJ for 8 years in a country bar, spinning country tunes and mixing live bands, and that's kind of how I got my start in the sound stuff. And so I still like a lot of the old country, if anybody cares, but that was my first concert. What was the favorite gig you played, Eric?
I would have to say it was DOS Energy when I had to play in a dust storm on the balcony of Solitaire. I got to play to the people that were coming in the show, and the weather was terrible and it was awful, but I was going by feet at the time, and that was my first time ever playing at Solitaire. That was a good one.
I have that flyer.
Yeah.
So for anybody that's not a Utah native in this scene here, what Eric's referring to is the biggest festival that happens in Utah. DOS Energy, put on by the V2 folks. Awesome people, good friends of ours, and I had the honor of playing that one as well. And that's one I don't want to really say which one was my favorite or not. But I will say when I played that show, I was blessed enough to get on the main stage and play the for a big crowd, and it was definitely one of my favorites as well.
I'll say probably the most fun I had DJing anytime was DJing with Matt at Nocturnal Groove 4.
That's kind of where I was gonna go. We have a reputation of playing some fun sets together, and at the bigger shows that we produced, we typically would play together, and those were always magical sets.
Yeah, those were good.
Equinox shows as well.
Equinox was a lot of good fun. Yeah, I prefer any festival where an outdoor setting is. That's definitely where I prefer to be on stage, out with nature, something like that. Yep.
Yeah. So the next question is actually kind of a loaded question here. The next question is, how do you decide on names for your tracks?
Just happens, man. We're just tellers of the story, and the names fall into our lap sometimes.
Sometimes we start things and they end up kind of gaining a name. Yeah. But some of our tracks have come from so just some interesting song titles that we came up with over a year ago, and I think I spit most of them out, but Eric was smart enough to write it all down. And some of these tracks we've just been like, okay, we're gonna make this one now, and like Gummies Frijoles.
Oh
for
yeah,
example.
coming racing the background. That'll be coming out here shortly. I believe it's on the 3rd, right,
That's
man?
our next track to come out. That's why we did that. July 3rd,
Yeah.
2020. Our second release
Yeah.
through PMLG. And
Mm-hmm.
we're really, really stoked about it. We think you guys are all going to love it. All right, Eric, what is a dream gig for you? What would be a dream gig to play for you?
Man, that's it's crazy. I think it would be a dream gig to play Psytrance at Tomorrowland would be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's a toss-up between Tomorrowland, Shambhala, and Electric Forest. I honestly like playing either one of those three. And obviously here in the States, like EDC, like if you get to look at that crowd with those lasers over your head, there's just that would be the ultimate.
EDC, any of the big shows would be dream worthy. EDC.
Getting to share that with the crowd, like it wouldn't matter what stage it was. I'd just be happy.
I just want to play a big festival in Brazil sometime.
Brazil.
I really want to play a big
Germany or
festival
the
in Brazil.
Netherlands would be awesome. Yeah. Ooh.
Like getting to play here locally, you know, if Collective Vision were to get on the DOS Energy stage, that would also be a dream gig of mine because that's here where we got our start, and it's
kind of a homegrown feeling. Yeah.
So that would be fun too.
Yeah, that would be exciting.
Yeah.
We grew up. That would be great.
And so one of the other questions that came through was, who are you listening to right now? And well, I'm listening to me talk. So that's great.
Me too. So
Eric and I get together and we haven't actually even started working on a track today. Right now my ears aren't listening to any blessed music, but we do all the time.
Yeah, lately somebody that caught my attention a lot has been as far as Psytrance goes, I'm always into Vini Vici. Yeah, nobody off the top. Nobody off the top of my head is like
if I didn't say, I still
listening to.
Yeah, I mean, I have my favorites, and I tend to have more favorite tracks than I have favorite artists.
Also, I'm a weird individual, and Matt will attest to this. Like, I don't stick to a favorite person or artist or song for too long because I just get so bored so quickly with the music. Like my playlist is always rotating, and it's hard for me to really like, you know, say this person's my favorite because I'm always looking for the music instead of the person.
Yeah. We'll go through one more question here before we end our video, and the question was more of not so much a question, but they asked if we could describe our process when we're creating a new track. And for that, I would have to say that it varies. It definitely varies. Sometimes we've got the inspiration before and we start trying to create something to that. But more often, I think we start creating something and it starts taking on a feel of its own, and then we go for more of that.
Yeah, to continue on what Matt said, a lot of it is just self-creating flow. A lot of times we start with kind of like where the title of the song makes us feel like it should start. We let the title tell the story. We're like, what would that sound like if this is what it was? And I usually ask, all right, how fast is this? And what are we making it at? And we start with a kick drum, and then I lay down some chords, or we find a melody that we like, and we're off to the races. Like Matt said, it gets to a certain point I kind of run in with like a visor where I don't know what's going to happen next. And it just, sometimes things just happen. Like they just fall out. Like you'll spend so much time putting layers in and layers in. And then
And sometimes we'll just be messing around with something and one or the other of us just really likes it, you know. So anyway, we key off of each other quite a bit, and you know, we have our funny little arguments, but for the most part, we create quite well together. So that's all, I guess, for this little Q&A session. Again, we are Kollective Vision, as the screen shows.
Yeah.
And we hope you have enjoyed the song that we put out already. Our second one's coming out July 3rd.
July 3rd. You'll find it on Spotify.
And just remember, we love you.
Yeah. We're happy to share a little bit of ourselves with you guys, and we hope that you enjoy our music, and we'll hope to see you guys soon. Stay safe and healthy, and just keep dancing, guys.